On Wednesday, the 1st of May, Freedom House published its annual report about the status of press freedom in the world, in which it stated that Iran is one of the worst countries regarding the government not giving people the right to access free media. Shirin Ebadi, a lawyer and Nobel Peace Prize winner, wrote a letter to Ahmed Shahid, the United Nations Special Rapporteur, regarding the situation of human rights in Iran, and expressed her concerns about the conditions of political prisoners currently held in the Evin prison of Tehran. During the past week, the Reporters Without Borders organization demanded the prosecution of Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, whilst publishing a statement about the numerous crimes they have committed. Gohar Eshqi, the mother of Sattar Beheshti, has stated that due to the lack of clarity around her son's case, she will be going on a hunger strike. Sattar Beheshti was a labourer and blogger who passed away following the torture he received in FETA police custody. Mrs. Eshqi wrote a letter addressed to Ayatollah Khamenei that if we are living in an Islamic country, why isn't her child's murderer being prosecuted? Ibrahim Fouladi, a kickboxing athlete from the city of Banner, has refused to attend the international championships in Spain due to the insulting and disrespectful behaviour of the sports authorities in Kurdistan. The Kurdish athlete wrote as part of his letter that, despite winning several gold and silver medals worldwide, the state officials showed their appreciation by giving me a few cups and a pan. On Wednesday, the 8th of May, Reporters Without Borders issued a press release protesting against the increased blocking of the internet in Iran. Reportedly, a number of prisoners in Evin prison have started an open-ended hunger strike due to not being transferred from solitary confinement to the General Ward, Section 350 of the prison. Their names are Saeed Madani, Abdullah Momeni, Abdul Fazl Abedini Nasr, Siamek Qaderi, Amir Khosrow Dalisani, Mohammad Hassan Youssef Pursifi, Saeed Abedini, Kamran Ayazi, Mohammed Ibrahimi, and Puriya Ibrahimi. A group of political prisoners from the Raji Shah prison of Karaj have highlighted the human rights violations towards prisoners in a letter addressed to the United Nations Human Rights Council and the people of Iran. On Saturday, the 4th of May, a group of supporters of the International Organization to Preserve Human Rights in Iran gathered from across France, playing the daf, a Persian drum, and demanding the unconditional release of all prisoners imprisoned in the dungeons of Iran, in order to express solidarity with the political prisoners and people who have been imprisoned due to their religious beliefs.
Freedom for us!
Farhad Sabokru, a priest, and his wife Shahnaz Jizan, plus 2 servants of the church of Ahvaz city named Naza Zaman Dezfuli and Davud Alijani, were recently sentenced to imprisonment by the court of Enqilab Islami, and despite the approval of their appeal in the appeals court, they were recalled to prison to spend their convicted period. On Monday the 6th of May, Saeed Abedini, a priest currently held in solitary confinement in section 240 of Evin prison, was transferred to the Modaris hospital in the city of Tehran, and after being treated only in the outpatient section, was returned back to the prison. According to reports, on Wednesday the 1st of May, 3 arrested Kurdish citizens named Adel Moradi, Adris Karimi, and Naghman Manuchehri were transferred to the Intelligence Corps prison of the Kermanshah city by the security agencies of Ravansar city. On Tuesday the 9th of May, a 23-year-old Kurdish man called Afshin Sohrabzadeh, who was charged with Moharebe, waging war against God, for being a member of the Kamala party, was sentenced to 25 years imprisonment and sent directly to the Minab prison. On Saturday the 4th of May, the military forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran shot the car of a Kurdish trader called Nabi Abdullahi in the Saveh area of Tehran, resulting in his death. On Monday the 6th of May, Habibullah Mohammadi and Behruz Ahmadi, 2 civil activists who were driving towards the city of Mardin, were shot 16 times by checkpoint security forces and are currently in a critical condition in the hospital of the Marivan city. According to police, they were shot for refusing to stop for police checkpoints. Nilufar Hashemi and Daniel Hossein Nejad, 2 students of Tabriz's Art University, recently committed suicide by throwing themselves off a building. On numerous occasions, the reasons for such suicides in Iran have remained unknown, and no organizations or institutions are willing to investigate to discover the cause of such suicidal deaths. Amir Shibani, a student expelled from the Azad University of Mashhad due to supporting the Green Movement, whom a year ago was put in Vakil Abad prison of Mashhad, has been given 5.5 years of unjust sentence on charges of acting against national security and insulting the leader. On Tuesday the 7th of May, 3 prisoners who had been charged with drug trafficking were executed in Isfahan's central prison. On Thursday the 9th of May, the High Court of Semnan province announced the execution of 3 prisoners charged with drug trafficking in Shahrud prison. On Sunday the 5th of May, Pur Bagher, the judge of the 3rd branch of the Tabriz Revolutionary Court, charged Dr. Latif Hassani, Mahmoud Fazli, Shahram Radmer, Ayatmer Ali Biglu, and Behbod Gholizadeh with forming an illegal group and activities against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and sentenced them to 9 years in prison. On Monday the 16th of May, in a public place in the village of Zayaran in Abyeh, lashings were carried out on a person charged with being a street ruffian. On the 29th of January, Hassan Sadeghi Khorramdashti, his wife Fatima Mozana, and their 17-year-old son Nima Sadeghi were arrested by security agents and after more than 4 months are still in solitary confinement. Reports indicate that Mojtaba Malaki, the public prosecutor of Kermanshah Court, has announced the execution of 3 people charged with committing murder in the Azadi Square of Kermanshah city. On Tuesday the 30th of April, Saber Mamdi and Nazmin Haidari, citizens of a village near Salma city, were arrested and their houses were searched and inspected. The security forces that conducted the arrest removed various personal items, including a computer. After 3 months' imprisonment, Arash Henrour Shojaei, a cleric and blogger, recently had his third trial and was charged by the prosecutor of the second branch of the clergy of Tehran court. Dr. Rahman Ghahramanpour, a journalist and elite scientist who was arrested 2 years ago in his workplace at the Center of Strategic Research of the Expediency Council, has to remain in prison. The reason for his arrest was writing a series of critical reports about Ahmadinejad's nuclear policies. Following the publication of the 8 million fraud cases video and other controversial news last week by the Baztab website, a number of official security institutions have demanded the arrest of Ali Ghazali, the manager of the site. The prosecutor has charged him for inciting public opinion. On Monday, the 6th of May, Humayun Amirzadeh, the chairman of the Committee for Overseeing the Infractions of Publishers, announced that 2 stands at this year's 26th Tehran Book Exhibition were closed down due to the fact that the books of unacceptable publishers were displayed. According to FETA police, it is a legal obligation to present a national ID card in an internet cafe. Therefore, without a national ID card, one cannot use an internet cafe. Following telephone conversations with 3 members of the House of Writers, they were summoned by the 15th branch of the Tehran Revolutionary Court under the leadership of Judge Salavati to present their sentences. Akbar Amini, Peyman Zafarmand, and Mohammed Parsi were all charged with participating in public gatherings and colluding against national security. Akbar was given 4 years, Peyman 5 years, and Mohammed 2 years imprisonment. From Saturday the 4th of May, most internet filter hacking systems remaining in Iran were detected and removed.
A month before Iran's presidential elections, one mother wants to know why her son was killed for speaking out. Gohar's son, Sattar Beheshti, was a labourer from a small city just south of Tehran. In October 2011, he started writing a personal blog on human rights in Iran. A year later, he was dead. The police took Sattar in for questioning on October the 30th, 2012. The following week, a prison official rang his family and told them, buy a grave and collect his body. How Sattar died is still a mystery. Sattar is not the only Iranian journalist to have died in custody, and many have experienced mock executions, forced confessions, and long periods of solitary confinement. Some imprisoned journalists have resorted to hunger strikes to protest their harsh conditions and abusive treatment. The Iranian government has called independent journalists spies and informers for foreign powers. The authorities have blocked websites and jammed foreign broadcasters. Strict laws and guidelines have been used to curb any voice of dissent. Families of journalists, even those working outside Iran, have been threatened, arrested, and imprisoned. At least 68 Iranian journalists fled into exile between 2007 and 2012 because of harassment and the threat of imprisonment. CPJ's annual census has documented a dramatic rise in the number of imprisoned Iranian journalists over recent years. In the early 2000s, the annual total of imprisoned journalists was in single figures. Once Ahmadinejad became president in 2005, the numbers leapt, doubling after the disputed 2009 elections. But these shocking figures don't tell the full story. Huge numbers of columnists, bloggers, and editors have been charged with crimes that seem outlandish, absurd, and Orwellian. Of the 40 currently imprisoned journalists, 18 face charges of spreading propaganda against the state. 8 for acting against national security. 3 for insulting the supreme leader. 1 for insulting the president. 1 for espionage in connection with Israel. And 1 for waging war against God. At least 8 of the jailed journalists have not even been informed of the charges against them. Around 2/3 of imprisoned Iranian journalists are being held in Evin prison, famous for rape, torture and executions. Following recent complaints, members of the Iranian parliament toured the site and concluded that the conditions were so good they nicknamed it Hotel Evin. Sattar Beheshti spent at least one night in Evin before his death. In 2013, the Iranian government began a new wave of detentions. The intelligence minister announced that the arrests were to prevent the emergence of sedition prior to the elections. It's an ominous sign for journalists who are now asking how they can safely cover the presidential campaign. But for Sattar's mother, the only question that matters is why did speaking out end in her son's death?
هیچ مسئولی تا حال هیچ کس از وقتی ستار من کشته شده پلو من نیومدن. میخوام یک دادگاهی علنی باشه و مردمی و عادلانه. آیا میخوام ببینم بچه‌های من گناهشون چیه؟ آیا نه فقط ستار من، هزارون ستارا.
The director of the hemp factory in Rasht, due to his mismanagement, has not paid the salary or retirement money to his employees for the past 12 months. In the last week, a group of workers from the weaving company in Isfahan gathered in front of the Islamic Consultative Assembly and demanded law enforcement on the company's pension insurance scheme. On Thursday, the 2nd of May, 2 Labour activists named Mohammed Ghazem Khani and Bahram Saidi were arrested following a sit-in protest in front of Parliament. On Saturday the 4th of May, Mohammed Ahyai, a Labour and union activist and one of the workers of an automotive company near Tehran, was arrested. On Sunday the 5th of May, the family of Hamed Mahmoudi, a Labour activist and a member of the coordinating committee, after visiting the headquarters of the News Information of Sanandaj, were informed that Hamed had been arrested and detained within that office. In the wake of an increasing number of closures of manufacturing industries due to the financial losses, the manufacturing complex of Asfer, located in Alborz, within the industrial city of Qazvin, was shut down and consequently 53 workers were made redundant. Mahmoud Beheshti Langrudi, a spokesman for the Teachers' Union of Iran, has been called to Enqilab Court. He must attend this court on the 11th of May. The underground city of Nush Abad, a historically famous city, also known as Oviyi, which is also the world's largest underground city, has been closed due to the breaking of Islamic regulations regarding hijab within the city. On the 5th of May, Babak Roghani, a protester from Namini city, was summoned to Khomeini court in the city of Ardabil. Mahmoud Gholamnezad, a political prisoner in Section 350 of Evin prison, who declined to meet his family along with 35 other political prisoners in an act of protest against transferring 10 of his cellmates last week, is now banned from having his monthly meeting with his wife. Asadollah Hadi, a political prisoner in Section 350 of Evin prison, was recently taken to hospital for open heart surgery. However, he has had to return to the prison before his treatment was completed. On the 21st of April, Shiraz Baghezadeh, an ex-political prisoner, was detained and since then has not been allowed to contact his family by phone or receive visitors. Ibrahim Saharkiz, the Deputy Minister of Education, has defended the change in the content of high school books and called it a defense against the cyber war of the enemy. Mohsen Qarati has stated that knowledge is useful if it results in serving God. Much knowledge is bad for mankind, and it is better that the license of the authors of the books of such knowledge is quashed. Last week, the successor to the Chief Commander of Security Services in Iran, in a public announcement, indicated their plans to eradicate social corruption by having domestic animals such as dogs in public places, and called it an undesirable social order. On Tuesday the 30th of April, they started to confiscate dogs from their owners by force. Days later, the owners of these dogs discovered that their animals had been detained in Kharizak prison without any due care to the health and nutrition. Ali Akbar Haydari Fard, the former Chief Justice and one of the main prosecutors responsible for the cases of the Kharizak prison, has stated that the Kharizak detention cases were all carried out legally and the prison is still active under the name of Surush 111. After the arrest of Ali Ghazali, the manager of the Baztab website, on the 27th of April, his mother has been told not to expect her son to be out of prison before the next few years. On Wednesday, the 8th of May, Shah Abadi, the Deputy Minister of Islamic Culture and Civilization Committee, during the 104th Cultural Meeting, announced their plans to design a national outfit for men. On Friday, the 3rd of April, the chairman of the Economic Committee announced that according to a new global ranking for standard of living, in comparison with other countries, Iran has dropped down 62 places in the past 5 years.